Good morning everyone, it's Carol from the Crafty Emporium. Today is number 4 of the 5 things challenge. So today I'm doing a little mini notebook. Alright, so I'm going to quickly show you the notebooks that I've made and then I'll show you the process. So as I said before, I'm trying to use up all my Jane Austen bits and pieces. Ideal for racks, these as well. So you know the envelopes that we made, you could fill your envelopes with a few of these and send those out as a rack. So this one has just got the plain fold over with a bit of paper at the top, and then I've just used pages from my Jane Austen pages that I'd got left over, and I've cut them down to size, and they've now made the pages of the little notebook. And here's another one, and this one has got a card front so that can act as a bit of a cover, and then inside I've just used lined paper. And this is a little teeny tiny one, so again it's just some leftover strips. So when I did that other one with the lined paper, I'd got some little tiny strips left over, so I made those into a little notebook, and then I put a piece of lace and a button on the front for that. This is one that my friend Jane made, and she's done some layering on the front of hers and put a doily on the front, and then again she's got a pocket on the back page there. She put some images on the back, done some lined paper there, and then that was the back of that one. And then this one here, I just used up the pages of my that I'd got left over from my DigiKit again, put a tag on the inside cover of that one and attached it so that it now forms a bit of a belly band. And then what I did was I used actual book pages from my Jane Austen book, and then used some of the lined paper, inked it up, and I stitched those in place on front of the page and added some extra little bits of decoration to make it a little decorative notebook, so that you've got somewhere to write on the lined papers. And then here on the back, where's it gone? I'll just use this one. So on the back here there is another belly band, and I've made these DigiKits for next sale next year. And then these little envelopes just pop underneath the belly band there, and then on the back I've just left this one plain. I think on the back of this one, yeah, on the back of this one I added a pocket with some lace, and all the tiny bits of leftover paper I've just put inside the pocket, so all of those could have corners rounded on them. They could be made into little tag shapes, so that they're all extra little bits and pieces for writing on the back of. Now the nice thing about these booklets is that, because of using the hole punched version here, is that you can actually undo the ribbon and replace the pages. So once you finish writing in all those pages, if it's the sort of thing that you want to carry around with you in your handbag, once you finish writing on them, you can actually undo the ribbon and replace the pages, so it's interchangeable. Now the other thing that you can do when you put these in your journal, you would normally probably have a pocket that you would then slot it into, but the other thing that you could do is, if you make a belly band, let's just say that this is your page of your journal. Move that one out of the way a minute. This is the page of your journal. If you attach your belly band higher up, it means that the back cover you could slide underneath, and then it would sit on your page. So then you could actually just slide that out. Sorry, it's just getting caught on the inside now. There we go. So you would then slide that out, and then you've got that to be able to take with you wherever, or fill it in and then pop it back in. All right, so again, this is just using up or my scraps. So I went through my scraps box of my card. So the back, the actual cover part needs to be done in card because it needs to be fairly sturdy, and it can be any size. Now, there are two ways of doing this. One is you actually cut the pages of your notebook first, and then you cut the cover to the size of your pages, or you get your pieces of card, make the cover, and then cut the pages down to the size of the cover. Okay, so if I just use this one as the example. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fold this top edge over, and you can use your score pal to do this if you wish, or you can just fold this over, and it needs to be folded over about an inch. Okay, and then I can cut this down from the bottom edge to the height that I actually want my notebook to be. Okay, so it doesn't matter that it's long because I can cut it down, and that is the basis of your book. Right, I'm off now. No, I'm not. So, options. You could leave it like this and actually just put a strip of your decorative paper on the front part of this bit of the flap. You need to bear in mind though, we are going to be punching holes into this. Alright, you could, so that would be like that one. So you just cut a strip of paper, decorative paper, and attach that to that front fold bit. You could do fancy corner punching. I'll just put that under there. You see that better? So that I've got a fancy corner punch on the edges. Could just round it. You could, it's my other version, put lace across the top, alright, on the flap bit there. But again, you need to remember that we're going to be punching holes through this lace here. So the method that I would normally use for punching my holes won't work because of the lace. So I'm going to have to use something slightly different to make my holes. You could use a border punch, and you could punch that bottom edge so that it's all decorative. So in that case, you will probably need your flap a little bit deeper than your 1 inch to allow for the depth of the punched edge border. You could use your die cuts, and you could die cut a fancy edge and then stick that on top of there so that it makes a nice decorative edge. I think that's all my options. Yeah, those are all the options. Okay, so once you've then decided what you're going to do with this edge of this flap, you then need to sort of look at decorating it. Do you want to decorate this backboard bit? Do you want to decorate the backboard bit? Do you want to add a pocket on the back? And those are the things that I would actually consider doing at this point. Right? Then put that to one side for now. You then need to look at the papers that you're going to put inside as your pages. So I've got this extra value jotter, and it's got this old-fashioned lined paper in it, and it's the paper that's got a little bit of a texture to it, and it's sort of creamy in colour, so it looks kind of vintage already. So you could use your leftover coffee dyed papers, you could use bits of tracing paper, you could use your ledger papers, you can use your lined papers. Use whatever you've got, you know, in your bits box. I've got these really nice textured papers. I don't know whether you can see that, but that's got all sorts of little fibres in it, and these are all sorts of different textured types of papers, so I could think about using those up and putting those in my jotter, in my little notebook. So once you have decided what depth your back cover is going to be, you would then cut your papers from this fold line here down to the bottom. and then cut them 1/8 of an inch smaller so that you've got just a little bit of a lip of the backboard showing. You could also cut them 1/8 of an inch smaller widthwise so that again you've got this little lip of the backboard showing. So if I just use a piece of this paper, so say this is my scrap bit of paper, yeah, maybe that's a bit too narrow, so I would need to cut it about there. And then because this is the size of my paper, I'm going to cut my board to about there. Ooh, snagged my paper. Snagged my paper, look. Never mind, I can trim that up. And then I'll cut that one height wise. And then that will slot in there. And can you see I've got a little bit of a border showing here and here and a tiny bit of a lip showing at the bottom, but the papers sit up against that crease edge, so then that will fold down over the top. Now I'm actually going to fully demonstrate using that bit of leftover paper from my DigiKit and that bit of card. Now these were two totally separate pieces that were just left over that I went through my scrap box and found. And when I actually lined this piece of card up with the edge of the pattern and this lady, she just fits on the width of this card. So I'm just going to measure. This measures 1 7/8 wide. Got fluff in me. There we go. So I'm just going to trim this paper down to size. So 1 7/8. And 1 7/8. And 1 7/8. When my blade starts to get a little bit blunt, I always start to cut my paper from the top and bring the blade down, because I find that if I push it up it snags the paper really easy. So I've now got these 3 strips that I can use as the pages in my little notebook. So I'm just going to trim off the top and the bottom bit. I could have done this on my paper trimmer had I used my noddle, but I didn't, and that's because I've only had 1 cup of tea so far today. Oh no, I tell a lie, I'm on my second. Okay, I want her on top. I'm going to fold this over about an inch-ish. That's a little bit more than an inch, isn't it? And then they should be able to sit in there. Oh, we're liking that. Okay, so Once I've got all my pages, I then get my little stapler and I'm just going to staple the top edge to hold them all together. Now you would round your corners, ink your pages, add all your little extra bits of decorative bits and pieces before you staple them all together. But for this, because I'm just going to do it as a plain Jane one, plain Jane Austen, because, oh, I do worry about myself sometimes, because I'm going to do this as a plain Jane one, I'm just stapling it at the top. Now, this is really thick card, so I'm actually going to punch my holes into my cover first, and I have a feeling it's not going to go through yet, but if I punch it so that it's marked it, okay, and then I'm going to open up that flap, punch those. Now you can measure, if you so wish, where you want your holes to be. There we go. So that they're even Stevens. And then I'm going to put my papers underneath there. And I'm just going to draw with my pencil a squircle. And then I'm going to punch a hole through my papers. Okay, be back in 2 secs. Just remembered my seam bindings over there. Over there. Won't be a minute. This is my bag of scraps of seam binding. So let's choose a colour. Ooh, I can see it straight away. That peachy colour. So that's some scrap of peachy coloured seam binding that I dyed. So I am going to pop it through from the front through to the back. And then from the back through to the front. Now I can determine how long it needs to be. Ooh. Tie myself a pretty little bow. My bow won't go right. Isn't it too big because of it only being a small? Come on. There we go. Okay. Trim off the excess. I always trim it off at a slight angle to prevent fraying a little bit. Then I've got this extra bit at the bottom, so I'm just going to cut that off. I'm going to cut it just fractionally longer than the pages. And there we have it, a little notebook. What makes the difference is the decorating that you do to each of the individual pages and the actual board cover itself. Right, so it just shows that from one leftover DigiKit page and a scrappy piece of card, I've been able to make this really pretty long notebook that I can then write on. I can write on the front and I can write on the back. But as I say, how you decorate it up is entirely up to you. But you would do all the decorating bits before you actually went and made it into the notebook. So that's my little challenge for today. As I say, I don't like doing anything that's too difficult, but it just shows with a little bit of a thought process before you make it all up how different they can all look and be, and what different sizes you can make. But it's a great way of using your scraps up again. So again, I look forward to seeing on group what versions you actually make of this, and I'll speak to you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.